What's going on? Welcome back to Fantasy Files 1054 or FFX54 for short. We're going to get into our week 3. See it right here. Week 3 start sit video. I call it a start sit, but it's kind of just going through and talking about the news, and we will talk about who's starting and sitting, and then we'll point out some potential trade targets or some people that you might be looking to sell high. So we're doing it today on Wednesday as opposed to last week where we did it on a Thursday. I think Thursday was probably a little too late in the week. So it didn't really show any value to you guys, and the views kind of showed that. So we're going to move it up to Wednesday, see how that does. And if Wednesday is better but still pretty slow, then we'll try Tuesday next week. Sunday before the games is always going to be a stream where we do a Q&A while we set up some DraftKings lineups and do some pick'ems on underdogs. So if that sounds like something you might like, or if you want to come hang out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're new, like the video if you like the video, and then ring the notification bell so you get any news or a notification when we're live or when a new video comes out. But without further ado, let's get right into it. All right. First matchup is tomorrow. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. So we have a divisional matchup here with the Steelers and the Browns, which does add a little bit of a factor. It's going to be an exciting game, kind of a battle of the horrible teams in the NFC North. Quarterbacks, we're obviously going to sit both or any quarterbacks on either team, but we'll focus on the Steelers. We're sitting Trubisky. In a super flex, maybe you want to play him, but we don't do super flex here on this channel, or we haven't done them like an actual redraft super flex league, so we're not going to touch on that too much. So as far as a normal standard redraft league goes, Trubisky's getting sat. Najee Harris you can start, but I'm a lot lower on Najee Harris than I've been in the past or at the beginning of the draft during this offseason. I always saw him as that really high floor, low ceiling running back that you can plug in your lineup and really just count on a good solid 15 to 20 points for. But he hasn't even been that this year. The lack of trips to the red zone with this new offense, as well as him dealing with a little bit of an injury, not getting the same passing volume, et cetera, et cetera. Najee Harris is a lot less of an exciting play than what he was. I think he's more of the David Montgomery range right now, which is hard to say, but that's the truth. So Najee Harris is a start based off of, running backs are very thin, so that's one reason you're going to start him. Another, draft capital. You got to ride it out. He's going to pay you off some of the weeks and probably the majority of the weeks throughout this year. Just because we're low on him doesn't mean he's not valuable. So you're going to start Najee Harris. Jaylen Warren gets sat. Don't even roster him anymore unless a new injury comes up. Deontay Johnson, still a target boss that we've known and loved. So I'm a big fan of Deontay Johnson. You're definitely starting him here. And you can bench Chase Claypool and George Pickens. I'm still cool with rostering George Pickens and just stashing him for later. I do think he could develop later on in the year. And if you're in a deeper league with a big bench, then he's worth a roster spot to take the chance on because I think he was one of the better prospects. And he just got knocked down in the draft for his off-the-field issues, or I guess you could call it an on-field issue because he had that famous fight. So I think that's why he got knocked down to where he got drafted. But as far as talent goes, I'm still someone that's going to be betting on that talent. Freiermuth is a hammer. Obviously, if you have a team like, you can't say George Kittle. If you have a team with Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts even, which we'll talk about him a little bit later, but Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, you're good. But the tight end position, other than that, has been horrible this year so far. And Pat Freiermuth has been one of the few that's actually been producing with a consistent, reliable amount of volume. So big fan of Pat Freiermuth moving forward, and that's someone we are absolutely starting. Cleveland Browns, we're benching Jacoby Brissett. We are hammering Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb with an incredible performance last week. 30-some points. Dropped it on me in fantasy. So luckily I was playing against him. Ended up winning the guy I was playing against week for him. I always saw Nick Chubb as kind of the same as what I was talking about for Najee Harris, but and having that very low ceiling because he's not involved in the passing game. But he proved us wrong this past week. He drops 32 points, 3 touchdowns. He's getting the majority of the red zone touches, so we're hammering Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt, you can start in a flex. We know what he is. If he gets some touchdowns, he'll pay off for you. If he doesn't, you'll probably be in that 7 to 10 point range. So if that's a bet that you need or have to make, you can start him in your flex. Amari Cooper is tricky. I picked him up off the waivers, believe it or not. So I love having him on my roster, and if you drafted him, you're probably in a position to where you have to play him, which we did get that bounce back week last week from an abysmal start in week 1. So I really do like Amari Cooper's potential moving forward. I just don't know. Personally, I'm using him as trade bait, selling high. And at the very least, I'm going to bench until I see it for a couple more weeks. So Amari Cooper, if you have the ability, bench him and wait to see it for a couple more weeks. If not, you can comfortably you can put him in if your back's against the wall. And I would probably say he's a similar player, like on the fringe player as Kareem Hunt, and I would probably start Amari Cooper over Kareem Hunt personally. The reliability is there for Kareem Hunt, and you know you're going to get at least 7 points, but Amari Cooper, I think, has a better chance of getting over 15. And Njoku, I'm benching. Still think it's worth rostering if you're in a very tricky tight end situation, which odds are you probably are this year. So I would suggest the roster spot if you're in a 12-team league, but you can't start him yet. There's better options. 1 o'clock game. This game I'm excited about. The Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins just finessed my Ravens last week. It was very heartbreaking to watch, and the Bills have steamrolled both teams that they've played, so I'm really curious to see how good the Miami Dolphins are or how good the Buffalo Bills are. I know they're both great teams. They're both looking good throughout the rest of the season, but I want to see how the Bills do against a hot Dolphins right now. And I think this is going to be a common trend throughout the entire season because how crazy the offseason was this last year. Russell Wilson to the Broncos, Devontae Adams to the Raiders, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because of how many changes there are, I feel like matchups like these are kind of like, we know they're good. We know the Dolphins are good. We know they can get hot, but how good are they? Like how good are they compared to a Kansas City or a Buffalo? And we saw what they could do against the Ravens last year. So I'm excited about this game. But getting into this, it's going to be very easy. You start Josh Allen. You bench all the running backs. Keep James Cook rostered. We saw a little bit more usage from him this week. So I'm one that's keeping him rostered on my bench. You got to remember these are rookies, so it's gonna take some weeks to get up to the NFL game speed. So keep James Cook on your bench. Don't drop him quite yet. Devin Singletary, start someone over him. Even a wide receiver, even a Rondale Moore, start over Devin Singletary in the flex. Stephon Diggs, hammer start. Gabe Davis, if he's healthy, you can start him. I'm not sure. We still got a questionable on him right here. Let's see if we have any news. Ankle listed as a limited. So he'll probably play. I'm going to end up playing him in my double flex league. But if you look, I don't have the I usually have a plug-in up here for Fantasy Pros. And they're suggesting I play A.J. Dillon over Gabe Davis. I like the ceiling on the wide receivers better, especially Gabe Davis. But I could see the case if you wanted to wait and let him get fully healthy. But personally, I would go ahead and just play him. Or I am going to go ahead and just play him. Dawson Knox, bench. Dawson Knox is just like every other tight end in the league. He is touchdown dependent. The only difference is he's on a good offense, so he has more red zone opportunities and more opportunities to score those touchdowns. But I'd rather go with the Robert Tonyan over Dawson Knox because both good offenses, but Buffalo has Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Packers have Lazard, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I mean, Robert Tonyan is up there in the receiving options, so I would rather go with the Robert Tonyan than a Dawson Knox. Miami Dolphins, Tua, you can start. Like, if you were a team that drafted Tom Brady, you might be one that's going to go ahead and start a Tua over Tom Brady. I would definitely suggest that. you probably have a better option, especially going up against the Bills defense. But I could see you needing to start him, and I wouldn't be terrified. He is going up against a really good defense, but I think he's going to at least give you 15 points. Which, you know, if you can't get 15 points out of your quarterback, then you're kind of SOL. So I think he's better than a typical streaming option. But start your starter. Start the guy you drafted higher than this, unless his name's Tom Brady, over Tua. I want to stay away from this backfield in Miami. We've gotten one game with Chase Edmonds being the lead guy, one game with Mostert being the lead guy. I don't know if they're switching to Mostert. I don't know if they're alternating games because Mostert is injury prone. I don't know what the deal is here. I have Chase Edmonds in 2 leagues. I'm benching him in both. If I had Mostert, I'd be doing the same thing. So stash them, see what happens, but bench them. Receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, first duo to ever score 2 touchdowns and go over 100 yards, I believe, ever. So you are hammer starting both of these. I will say that Jalen Waddle, for me, is a potential trade target. And the reason I say that is he's not a trade target in the sense that we're going out to get him. I personally think he's a trade target in the sense of we want to sell him while he's high. He hasn't had very many weeks in his career. I mean, he's not going to have 40-point weeks every week. His first game this season, he was saved and bailed out by a touchdown. He only had 5 targets, 4 receptions, and this touchdown was pretty much all of his points on like a 40-yard score. So if he doesn't get that one play, we're looking at a lot lower of a score here. Last week, he absolutely balled out in an insane comeback with a very weak Baltimore secondary. And honestly, they were just they looked horrible in the secondary. We were dealing with some rookies, some blown coverages. So last week, I do think is a little bit of an anomaly. I don't think he's going to be bad this year by any stretch of the imagination. But when I say use him as a trade target to sell, I'm not talking about getting a linear like Cortland Sutton type. I'm talking about going after, grab a Jeff Wilson, pair him with a Jalen Waddle, and go after Jamar Chase. Go after Davante Adams. Go after someone that's high. I just made a trade today. It was Jalen Waddle, A.J. Dillon, Allen Robinson for James Conner and Davante Adams. I used Jalen Waddle as a sell high piece to go after a Davante Adams who had a slow week last week. And moving forward throughout the season, I'm higher on Davante Adams than I am Waddle, even though I think Waddle is still a good option. So when I say use him as a trade target, go after someone up there. Go after an elite receiver. Go after a great running back and get some return on your value. But if you want to hang on to him, I understand the case. And, I mean, he is a sophomore. It's his second year. He had one of the best rookie wide receiver seasons of all time. So if you want to make the case for him and you're a truther in Tua, then go ahead, hang on to him. And, this was a pick this was a trade that's going to feel like season deciding. Jalen Waddle is either going to be insane and you're going to be mad you traded him away, but I'm better on the side of I'd rather grab a Davante Adams and sell Waddle while he's on this 40-point week. Gesicki, you're benching still. He had a little bit more usage, but not enough to be relevant. We got to pick up the pace here, though. New Orleans Saints versus Actually, leave this in the comments. First week, we did a rapid fire where I don't remember how long that video was, but we were trying to get through these as quick as possible, not talking about them a whole lot. This time, we're going a little bit slower, and it'll be more of a live stream length of video, kind of your hour and a half type video where you throw it on while you're cooking some dinner or doing the dishes and just listen. So tell me what format you like if you want me to run through it as quick as possible and cut it up into a one-sit type video, or if you would prefer to be this more casual, take our time and talk about each talking point we're thinking about. Just let me know in the comments down below. But moving into our next matchup, we have New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers. I don't know if Winston is... I don't know what his injury status is. I know he was like playing with a broken hand or something. Winston back. Oh no, he had a broken back. Said Wednesday that Winston back ankle will have a cap on his reps during the prep. Yeah, so it sounds like he's still going to play. It makes me a little bit nervous if I'm a holder in one of these stocks as far as in his receiving game. But I wouldn't be starting Jameis Winston. Alvin Kamara, if he plays, you start him. Just start the season over. He had an injury. Don't worry about Alvin Kamara just yet. He didn't play last week, so if he's healthy, you're playing him. If he's not, you can play Mark Ingram in a flex. Michael Thomas, you have to play him at this point. Yeah, he was kind of bailed out on late touchdowns in both games, but it happened in both games. So you're going to start Michael Thomas if you have him. You can start Chris Olave if you have him as well. He had 13 targets, I think, last week, and that's an amount of targets that you really have got to be channeling, especially if it's coming from a rookie wide receiver, a high draft capital rookie wide receiver. So go ahead and start Chris Olave. Jarvis Landry, you're benching, but hang on to him. Don't drop him. Jawan Johnson is the tight end in New Orleans that you would want to be targeting on the waivers if you want to pick one of these guys. Taysom Hill is too volatile. You can't count on him, so don't fall into that trap. Jawan Johnson is the guy that has the volume in the receiving game, so you can pick him up and start him if push comes to shove. Carolina Panthers, this is such an ugly team. Christian McCaffrey is the only guy I would feel comfortable starting. He's not 30-point Christian McCaffrey, but he's still very good compared to other running backs. So you're always starting Christian McCaffrey. I'm not even going to acknowledge Baker Mayfield. I think we all know the answer there, and I don't want to give him the respect to even mention him. So we're going to pass over Baker Mayfield. Christian McCaffrey, you're starting. DJ Moore, you have to start, but we're nervous about it. Robbie Anderson, you're benching. I would drop him. And all these tight ends are irrelevant. Cincinnati Bengals versus the New York Jets. This should be a blowout, easy game, but I think the Jets' offense is a lot better than people think or people thought. I think they're actually a legit offense now. So this might be a closer game than you would expect. I don't think the Jets are going to win, but I think it could be close. Joe Burrow, you can start him if you need to. I would start him over Tom Brady, but he doesn't have any rushing upside, and he gets sacked a lot. So I would prefer starting someone else, but like I wouldn't start Tua over Joe Burrow. Normally I would if he wasn't going against the Bills, but going up against the Bills, I can't start Tua over Joe Burrow. But if you have to, start Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon, hammer play. Don't even worry about it. Jamar Chase, same thing. T. Higgins, same thing. Tyler Boyd, bench. Hayden Hurst, you can start in a pinch if you need to. New York Jets. Joe Flacco, man. I think the second most receiving yards in the entire season. He has been killing the game these first 2 weeks. Well, I guess week 2 he killed the game. But we're benching him. No, nothing really here. Breece Hall, stash. He's heating up. Don't trade him away. Someone's going to send you an offer for a Breece Hall trade to buy him low. Hang on to Breece Hall. He's going to have a really good second part of the season. Michael Carter is going to be the opposite, and I'm really not playing him in any leagues, even if I did have him. Elijah Moore, we're not playing him. Garrett Wilson would be the option to play here. Way more volume in the first game, and way more volume in the second game, but I believe he had more volume in the first game as well. So Garrett Wilson is the guy we want to start here. Corey Davis was too volatile. I know he had 2 good weeks, but they're not weeks you can count on. One of them came from a very long touchdown bomb. So Corey Davis we're benching. Elijah Moore, I actually am starting in this league here. This is my work league. I got to do another update video on my other 2 leagues because I've done so many trades, you're not even going to recognize the teams. I think I've done like 8 trades in each league, which I do most of the trading up front. It simmers out. I feel like you can get a lot of value early on, but we'll do an update video later when I feel like I'm at a point where we're going to ride it out. But yeah, we're starting Elijah Moore here because it's between him and A.J. Dillon, and I do feel like he is due for a decent game. But this is more of a hunch. If you want to look at the numbers, you probably have a better option starting A.J. Dillon or really anyone else over Elijah Moore. But he's in that conversation, that flex fringe conversation. I'd do Elijah Moore over Amari Cooper. I do Elijah Moore over Kareem Hunt. So that's something to think about. Elijah Moore is kind of on the fringe. I'm starting him in a league. Garrett Wilson, I would start. You're fine there. And Tyler Conklin actually is someone I'm starting in this league as well. I feel like Tyler Conklin is that Jawan Johnson. What's the other guy? Hayden Hurst type range. So, if you look at Tyler Conklin, he has 7 and 9 targets. So at the tight end position, that's actually really good. So look for Tyler Conklin on your waivers if you need a tight end. Ravens, obviously we're starting Lamar here. None of the running backs are starting, but we are excited about J.K. Dobbins coming back, and we're going to keep an eye on that. He might be a massive sleeper. He is a great prospect. He was averaging 6 carries a carry, or 6 yards a carry last time we saw him on the field for a full season. And that was with Gus Edwards, which is why he didn't have the volume because it was a split backfield. Now, Kenyon Drake's he's not competent. He's not good at all. Mike Davis is horrible. Justice Hill is bad. So if J.K. Dobbins comes back and looks like J.K. Dobbins of old without Gus Edwards, this could be a guy that you can start to think about starting later on. But for this week, we're going to watch and see how healthy he is, see how it all works out. Rashad Bateman, you're starting. He showed us 2 weeks in a row now that he is him. And he's going to be him for the entire year for our Baltimore Ravens. So Rashad Bateman is a guy you're going to want to start. You can still stash Devin Duvernay if you want to. I probably wouldn't. But we're definitely not starting him. And then Mark Andrews, obviously, we're starting. This matchup is against the New England Patriots. I forgot to mention that. Mac Jones, we're benching. Damian Harris. I think Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are kind of like the same play. I know Damian Harris had a bigger week last week, but they were both playing pretty a comparable amount of snaps, so it very easily could have been Ramondre Stevenson that got that touchdown. So I'm not playing either one of these guys with comfort, and if I have the option, I'd rather bench both. But if you have to start Damian Harris, you can. I would still bench Ramondre Stevenson. Odds are you can still bench him because I think he was going in like the 8th round, so you should have a couple people ahead of him. I would even start an ETN over Ramondre Stevenson. Jacoby Myers, you can definitely start if you want to. Nelson Aguilar had a great week last week, but you're not starting him. You're sitting him. Devontae Parker, sitting. Kendrick Bourne, sitting. Hunter Henry, you're sitting. There's other options that are better on the waiver wire than Hunter Henry, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I drafted Hunter Henry. Or I traded for Hunter Henry early in the season. The trade was Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, and Chase Edmonds. I don't remember. Never mind. Go watch the video. The first, what is it called? Go watch our redraft video in the on the channel, and you'll figure out what the trade was there, if you're curious. But next matchup is a NFC East. Commanders versus the Eagles. The Eagles, I think Eagles-Bills is going to be the Super Bowl. I mean, just from right now, the way too early reaction, I think that the Eagles and the Bills are the two best put-together teams, and it hurts for me to say that. I hate Philly fans. I don't hate you, Philly fans. I'm sure there's some of you guys out there that are not that bad, but I hate Philly sport environments. I'll say it that way. But the Eagles look good this year. They really do. I have Jalen Hurts in all 3 of my leagues now. All 3 of my redraft leagues. So Jalen Hurts, we are smashing. He is the guy we thought he was going to be when we draft him. Miles Sanders, you're starting. Kenneth Gainwell, you can drop. A.J. Brown, you're starting. Devontae Smith is another fringe player, Elijah Moore type, so pick your poison there. You can start him. He's your flex. If you have a better option that you're more comfortable with, throw him in there. But Devontae Smith is definitely capable of boom weeks, and he showed us last week that he's capable of having solid weeks as well. So Devontae Smith, you're definitely starting. Quez Watkins, you're sitting. Dallas Goedert, you're definitely starting. Commanders, I think Commanders slow down a little bit this week. I mean, the Lions did put up 30-plus points on the Eagles, so I don't know if the defense is that great, and we'll find out this week how good the Commanders' offense actually is. But I think that they slowed down just a little bit. They've been going crazy these past couple of weeks. We saw it in the first half of week 2. Last week against the Lions, they had a very slow start, and then they finally caught up at the end. But I think they take a step back here, which is going to affect the receiver core the most. But you can start Carson Wentz. I can't believe I'm saying that at this point in the year, but you can definitely start Carson Wentz. You can definitely start Antonio Gibson, and you should be starting Antonio Gibson. I know he had a slow week last week. He had the opportunities. He'll have a better week this week. J.D. McKissic, you're benching, but you're rostering. And check your waiver wires for Brian Robinson. He's coming back in a couple weeks. And so I picked him up recently in one of my leagues. So check the waiver wire, see if someone dropped him. Scoop him if they did. But Antonio Gibson's the only starter in this group. Terry McLaurin, you're starting. Curtis Samuel, you're starting. Jahan Dotson is a fringe player. You can start him on the flex. I think you still bench Jahan Dotson, though. If I had him, I'd rather go with an Elijah Moore over a Jahan Dotson. Like I said, I think these Commanders slowed down a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, and Carson Wentz isn't going to be able to support 3 receivers for much longer. So I love Jahan Dotson going forward, but this week I prefer another option. And then Logan Thomas, another fringe tight end. You are more than welcome to pick up and play. I definitely have thought about it myself. Houston Texans versus Chicago Bears. This game should not be televised. You should not be watching it. And honestly, you really shouldn't be playing too many players from this matchup either. Davis Mills, bench. Dameon Pierce, bench. Keep him, though. Rex Burkhead, drop. Brandon Cooks, start. Based off of, I saw, let's look at this together. Hold up. Let's look at this together. This is crazy. I couldn't believe this. This will show you how bad Davis Mills actually is. And trust me, I'm rooting for the guy. He's better than we all thought he was going to be. But this is why being on a bad team is hard. 12 targets, 10 targets, phenomenal. We had 7 receptions and 4 receptions on 22 targets. That is bad. That is bad. He had solid weeks, but you're getting this type of volume and you're only getting 10 points. That's bad. So you're starting Brandon Cooks. He's going to get you 10 points. So, I mean, that doesn't grow on trees. He's definitely out of the Elijah Moore fringe conversation. You're starting Cooks if you have him. But I mean, 10 targets and 4 catches is so bad. So bad. Nico Collins, check your waiver wire. Pick him up if you can. He was looking good. Got some good volume. But we're not starting him. And then all these tight ends you're benching. Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, bench. David Montgomery is the only starter in this matchup. Darnell Mooney, I wouldn't be able to drop him yet, but you're not starting him. There's no passing game in Chicago right now. St. Brown, whatever. If you want to pick him up and give him a chance, fine. But I'm not bothering. I don't want any piece of this offense. Honestly, David Montgomery you can play him. He had a good week last week, but just stay away from everything there if you can. I guess other than David Montgomery. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Indianapolis Colts. This should be a good game on paper if you ask me preseason, but the Colts look horrible. Patrick Mahomes, we're starting. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're starting. Jerick McKinnon, you can roster if you want. I don't mind it. Isaiah Pacheco, same thing. I think Isaiah Pacheco's role will get increased as the season develops. All these wide receivers, I'm honestly dropping, trading, just get rid of them. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, and you see it when you see Tom Brady play. They distribute the ball like nobody's business. They have their one guy, and then everyone else is so evenly distributed. That's what we're seeing here. Travis Kelce is the one guy, and then this receiver core is basically just whoever's open is getting it on that play. So because Patrick Mahomes spreads it out so much, I don't want any piece of this receiving core. So I traded away Juju. I would trade away MVS. I would just trade everyone away if you can. I don't want any part of this receiving game in the receiving core. Kelce, obviously, yes. Allaire, yes. Mahomes, yes. Indianapolis Colts, Matt Ryan, we're definitely benching. He looked horrible. Jonathan Taylor, don't worry about last week. That was just an underusage. That'll get corrected this week. Jonathan Taylor, don't worry about it at all. Nyheim Hines has been getting a decent amount of points with very little touches. He's getting a lot of work in the receiving game. Let's see what his targets look like. I don't think he's startable yet, but I think he's getting to the point where he's almost a fringe player that you can start to look at. We're looking at, what is this? 6 receptions, 4 receptions, and barely any usage in the running game. But he's basically being used as a receiver. And if he has a boom week here soon, he's a guy you can start to think about. But you're definitely not starting him this week. Michael Pittman, if he's healthy, you're starting. I wouldn't mind an Ashton Dulin start if Pittman was not healthy. Ashton Dolin's looking really good. Looks better than Alec Pierce. Looks better than Paris Campbell. So pick up Ashton Dulin. I mean, if you look at what he's been producing, I know it's, you want to blow over that name. I did last week when we were setting some bets up on the video on Sunday before the game started. But look at this guy. 6 targets, 7 targets, a carry. This is a rookie, so he's going to continue to develop as the season moves on. So look for Ashton Dulin to kind of work his way into the number 2 spot in Indianapolis. Keep an eye on him. We're definitely not starting him, though. We're not starting any tight ends either. Next matchup, the Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. This is a little bit interesting. I think it's going to be a shootout. There's no defense here. So hopefully we get into a little bit of a shootout. Jared Goff, you can start, surprisingly enough. DeAndre Swift, you're obviously starting. I think DeAndre Swift is looking to be the best running back in the league right now. I think he finishes as the number 1 fantasy option at the running back position at the end of the season. So I don't think you can trade for him. This might be the week you try because he was limited and had a quieter week for him. And on those limited touches, he still went absolutely insane. 16.7 points on limited touches, 5 carries, 2 receptions. Like, this guy is him. If you can get him, this is what I'm talking about. Get a Waddle, get a Jalen Waddle, pair him with, get a Jalen Waddle. I'm trying to give you like a realistic thing here. Maybe like Jalen Waddle and A.J. Dillon. Jalen Waddle and James Conner. No. That's too much. Jalen Waddle and A.J. Dillon is fine. Jalen Waddle and Gabe Davis. Get something like that and just go get DeAndre Swift if you can. Amon-Ra St. Brown, speaking of being him, I mean, my God. I'm really kicking myself because in one of my trades, I had the opportunity to choose Keenan Allen and Juju or Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra, and I chose Juju because I already had Swift and I didn't want 2 pieces of a Lions offense is what I told myself. But, man, I wish I had Amon-Ra. Obvious start here. Chark, I'm dropping. Too inconsistent for me. Josh Reynolds, obviously no. Cephas, no. Hockenson, you're still starting, but we're nervous. We need to see a little bit of production here, maybe a touchdown next week, but we're not benching him quite yet. I don't know. If Tyler Conklin has another good week and he doesn't, maybe we bench him next week. Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins. You can start him. I would start him over Tom Brady. Yeah. No, we're playing the Lions. You can start Kirk Cousins easily. Dalvin Cook is going to be another trade target. He's had a very slow start. I've been trying to go after him in my leagues. It's looking like people understand his value, which you should because you drafted him so early. But for the player that he is, he's only put up a 13.8 point game and a 7.6 point game. Obviously someone drafted him in the first, maybe the second round, so they may begin to panic here, and you might be able to capitalize on that panic. So I've been trying to offer trades for Dalvin Cook. If you can go out there and get him. So don't be worried about him. Justin Jefferson, we're starting, no questions asked. Adam Thielen, man, I would love to trade him away if I had him. I don't care if you have to sell low. Like Adam, I've never been one to like Adam Thielen in a redraft format. I think that he's too volatile. He's too touchdown dependent. So I would bench him if I had the option. You might not have the option, so he is startable. As far as personal preference goes, though, I'd stay away. Maybe use him as a trade piece. Irv Smith, we're definitely not starting. All right, the Raiders versus the Titans. Derek Carr, honestly I wouldn't start. He doesn't have enough rushing upside. That's the problem. He doesn't have enough rushing upside to give him that really high ceiling. He's gonna give you between 10 and 20 points. So you can grab him if you are looking at like a Trey Lance and Derek Carr's your only option. Trey Lance got injured. Sure, you can start Derek Carr. But we're not excited about it. And if we have another option, then we'll go with that other option. I'd rather go with Russell Wilson over Derek Carr. Kind of gives you an idea. Josh Jacobs, just bench him. Hopefully you have the opportunity to do that. But he would, I mean, I don't know. Josh Jacobs is just not exciting. It's tricky because we're in the running back position and a lot of people are very thin. Like especially if you drafted Elijah Mitchell earlier on, he's injured. You didn't get the Jeff Wilson waiver claim. You're sitting with a Najee Harris and all you want is 10 points. Then yeah, you can start Josh Jacobs, but hopefully you've been better on the waiver wire and you've been able to either grab or I would be looking to trade for a running back if that's you. I would much rather look to trade for a running back than start Josh Jacobs. So try to get out of starting him if you can. But if you have no other option, your back's against the wall, fine. You can start him. I know that position is tough. Devontae Adams, you're starting. Hunter Renfrow, you can start. Definitely not excited about it. I don't believe he's injured, but let's just go ahead and double check while we're here. I know he got into a concussion and went the concussion protocol at the end of the game on that fumbling play. Renfrow concussion did not practice Wednesday. So yeah, if you are someone that's looking to start him, go ahead and keep an eye on his injury. But if you have an Elijah Moore, if you have one of those fringe players we were talking about earlier, I would start all of them over Hunter Renfrow. But some people aren't in that position, and you can start him if you want to, or if he's available. Darren Waller, obvious start. The Titans, man, they look bad. They looked so bad last week. Tannehill, we're benching. We're against the Raiders. Tannehill, we're benching. Derrick Henry, we're benching. And this, honestly, is another trade target. I say this because he had 2 single-digit games to start this season. People are going to be panicking. He is a little bit older, which will add to the panic. He's not going to be Derrick Henry dropping 40, 50 points. Maybe you get a spike week out of him like that, but I don't, he's not going to produce at the level he did at the beginning of last year. So if that's what you're expecting, you're not going to get that. But I think you do get a solid running back, a running back that's between 15 and 20 points most weeks. He's had a slow start, so give him a break. Trade for him if you can, especially if you're thin at running back. Maybe this is a team or maybe this is a guy you're going after if you're that Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, Najee Harris team the scenario we just talked about. So if that's you, then maybe Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook is a guy you want to pair a good wide receiver with and go after to try to get in a package deal, a 2-for-1 deal. You offer 2 and get Derrick Henry in return. So I do think he's a trade target. Treylon Burks, also another trade target, to be honest with you. He's been looking good. He's had very good involvement in the offense. I'll go ahead and show you what his targets are looking like. And you got to remember that he is still a rookie. He's still getting up the game speed. 5 targets, 6 targets, 8.5, 8.7 in his first 2 games as a professional football player. So I think he's a guy that you can ask if you're already in trade talks for a bigger target, maybe be like, oh, yeah, go ahead and throw Treylon Burks in there, and then we have a deal. Like, Treylon Burks is a good piece like that. He's not the guy you're going after. He's not the guy you're going after by himself. But he's a guy you can just play him down, tell him to, throw Treylon Burks into the trade, and then you might have a gem later on in the season. Austin Hooper, we're benching. Robert Woods, just drop him. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. Jaguars have been looking way better than they did last year, which is, as to be expected. Trevor Lawrence, you can start. You can definitely start if you are a Dak Prescott or Trey Lance type team. Trevor Lawrence might have been your waiver wire ad. So you can start Trevor Lawrence. James Robinson is looking very good. I'm shocked that ETN isn't more involved. I know he had a very rocky first game, and he probably starts to ramp up a little bit as the year progresses because he also is a rookie. But James Robinson is the guy you want to be starting in this backfield. Travis Etienne is a very low fringe. If your back is against the wall, you traded away all your depth in 2-for-1 deals, and you have no one else to start in your flex. Sure, you can start Etienne. He might get you 8 to 10 points. But James Robinson is definitely the preferred option of the two. Christian Kirk is a baller, man. I did not expect this out of him. I did not expect for him to get the volume. I did not expect for him to be used in the role he's being used in. Christian Kirk is a hammer play. If you have someone that thinks that these are 2 fluke games or something, then you might be able to grab him. But Christian Kirk is definitely Himothy. Zay Jones, we're benching. Marvin Jones, we're benching. Evan Ingram is a fringe tight end you can definitely consider starting. He's getting that volume. He's lining up as a wide receiver, so you can look at him if you want to. If Justin Herbert starts, we're starting Justin Herbert. If Austin Eckler starts, which he will, I think Justin Herbert's actually day to day. It's right here, actually. Justin Herbert day to day, Justin Herbert ribs to participate in practice Wednesday. So it looks like he's tracking the play. Austin Eckler, you're obviously starting. Mike Williams, we're definitely starting. We just are expecting a very volatile player here. Might give you 3 points, might give you 30. So if you're going to start him, know that's to be expected. You might get a bad week, you might get a great week. But we're definitely starting Mike Williams if you do have him. If you can't handle that volatility, use him as a trade piece to go and get someone else that you can feel confident starting. Josh Palmer, you can start if Keenan Allen isn't there. I would prefer not to. And then Keenan Allen, if he is starting, you're obviously playing Keenan Allen. I saw a report actually a couple minutes ago from Fantasy Pros that he is day-to-day right now. So we have to wait a little bit longer to figure out if he's going to be playing on Sunday. Gerald Everett, he might be the tight end waiver scoop of the year. I grabbed him in 2 of my leagues now. Even if you have a tight end and he's on your waiver wires, grab him. A couple more weeks of bad tight end play might have someone crawling to you for Gerald Everett as a trade. And he's just been playing like a wide receiver. He's been producing at a very high level. So look for Gerald Everett on your waiver wire. Definitely start him if you can. Rams versus the Cardinals at 425. Man. Okay. Rams, Cardinals, 425. Los Angeles Rams off to a slow start. Matt Stafford, you can still start him. I know he's been not the best for you lately, but I would definitely have more confidence starting Matt Stafford than I would at Tom Brady. I know I keep using Tom Brady as that reference, but I feel like that's a good reference to use right now. Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers, I would sit both of them if you have the opportunity. We don't know what's going on in this backfield. Darrell Henderson, I mean, they're both touchdown dependent right now. Cam Akers, I think I would actually prefer playing, which is kind of surprising to say just because of his involvement in the passing game. But, I mean, I think Darrell Henderson, major trade target, major trade bait because the running back position is so difficult, especially if you are trying to trade him to the Cam Akers team. That could make a lot of sense. So at least they have both. Whenever Sean McVay decides which way that backfield's going, they can pivot because they'll have both. So maybe look to sell him to the Cam Akers team. You might even be able to get something from him, or you might be able to get something for him from another non-Cam Akers team just because he had 2. I mean, the week 1 and 2 looks good on paper. So, like, if you have people coming in here analyzing a trade like this, they look at the player, scroll down, and they're like, oh, 12 points, 10 points. I have Travis Etienne who's getting me 7 points, so I want to trade for this guy. But this is not a reliable 10 or 12 points. It's going to fluctuate. It's going to go way down. If you get a touchdown, you'll be up there. But I think Darrell Henderson is a very nice piece to use in combination with another player that you can go out there and get someone pretty decent if you're packaging him together. So trade target for him, Cam Akers, ride it out, sit him, but see what you have from him this week. Cooper Kupp, start. A-Rob is a flex, hopefully. I am not an A-Rob truther. I'm sure you have A-Rob truthers out there telling you, definitely start this guy. He's He's the man. He's going to be really good this year. Top 12 receiver, whatever. I'm not an A-Rob truther. I can't get there. Um, so I digress. You can start him if you believe in him. If you think his trajectory is going upwards and you think last week was a sign of things to come, then sure, you can definitely start him. He did have one touchdown and another touchdown opportunity, so he almost had a boom week. So, I mean, you definitely can start him. And I guess I will have to classify him as a start. But personally, if I can get out of it, I will. And A-Rob is actually a guy that I traded away today because I just don't want any piece of him. That's the thing is, like, if you have a guy that is like an Allen Robinson or a Mike Williams where he's very high profile and you have people that love the dude and see that upside and you're not one of them, don't hang on to him. Package him with an Antonio Gibson and go out there and get someone you do believe in. Don't hold on to someone that you don't like. Like there's this I don't know what it is, but there's this thing around trading and redraft leagues like it's a bad thing. Trading makes the league so much more fun. When you win, it makes you look so much more right. It's fantasy football, so I mean, encourage trading in your leagues. If you're the commissioner, give incentives to trade. Maybe it's not financial, but maybe incentivize trading and activity in your leagues as much as possible. And this is why. This is a perfect example because you got Allen Robinson. You're not a truther, but you drafted him because he was the highest in ADP, and then you realized you didn't love him. And you have a guy out there that's like in your league, in your redraft league, and he's saying, "Nah, man, that Allen Robinson is good. He had a good week. He's looking up." Then give him to him. Take someone from his team that you believe in. Package Allen Robinson with another player and go and get someone you like and you'll feel comfortable starting. So Allen Robinson is a caliber of player you have to start. But if you're uncomfortable starting him, then go get someone that you're comfortable starting because he has that trade value to be able to do that. Tyler Higbee, you can definitely start. His volume is looking absolutely insane at the tight end position, which is really what you're looking for at the tight end position is volume. And he had 11 and 9 targets and 8.9 points, 14.1 points. I mean, that's one of the best tight ends in the league. So we're definitely starting Tyler Higbee. Arizona Cardinals, we're starting Kyler Murray. We are starting James Conner if he does play. If he doesn't, if he's out with injury, Darrell Williams would be the player to start here. Eno Benjamin is definitely worth a stash. Marquise Brown, we're starting. Greg Dortch, you can pick up. Rondale Moore is going to be back from injury, so you can start him as well. Zach Ertz, you're starting. Man, I'm about to get so dry from talking for an hour straight. All right, Atlanta Falcons versus the Seahawks. Ew. Mariota, maybe a streamer because of the Russian upside. I actually didn't even look what he had last week when it was all said and done. Let's look together. 19 to 13, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for a streamer, you're looking for a guy that can get you 10 to 20 points. That's what you're looking for. That's what Mariota provides because of that Russian upside. So you can stream him if your back's against the wall. I'd rather start him than Tom Brady. Surprisingly enough, I would. What's this matchup again? Seahawks, yeah. Yep. Cordell Patterson, you're starting. Not very comfortable about it, but you definitely can start him in your flex. Tyler Algier, I wouldn't even roster him. I know a lot of people are telling you to go out there and grab him off of waivers, but I don't see the upside. I wouldn't even pick him up. Drake London, speaking of being Himothy, Drake London is that dude. He had the highest target share percentage last week out of all receivers across the entire NFL. So Drake London is a guy you can actually start now. I know he's probably been riding your bench if you do have him, but going into week 3, if you have him, start him. Kyle Pitts. Let's just get it right out of the way. Trade target. Listen. Right now, he's looking like a bust. He's looking like a bust because you drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round at the tight end position, and he's giving you 3 points 2 weeks in a row. He's not been getting targeted. He has not been getting looked at by his new quarterback. I get it. I get it because I have him in 2 leagues. I drafted him in 2 leagues. But I'm telling you, he had one of the best receiving rookie seasons out of tight ends and wide receivers as far as yardage goes. He had the 23rd or 24th most yards out of all rookies ever, wide receivers or tight ends, and he was doing that at the tight end position. I think he develops into a wide receiver caliber player at the tight end position, which is more than enough, more than what you're looking for in the tight end slot, especially this year. So I'm going to be one that's buying on the talent. I know he was the best tight end prospect of all time. He did good last year, just didn't produce in the red zone. You got to trade for him. You have to. And if hopefully the guy that has him is feeling the panic and will give him up for cheap, I get it's scary, but I will be trading for him. And I'm still going to start him, obviously. Seattle Seahawks is disgusting. I think you should get rid of Penny for whatever you can get. Throw him in a trade. Ken Walker's the guy you want to roster here. You know, he hasn't produced yet, but he's a guy that's going to be involved in the passing game. He's the younger guy. He's the future of this franchise. So look for them to get more and more away from Penny and towards Walker as the season progresses. So get rid of Penny. Walker, you can roster. Don't start him, but you can definitely stash him. DK Metcalf that's ugly. I think you could still start him because of the upside in the flex position, but he's not a... Yeah, hopefully you have better options here, unfortunately. I think Tyler Lockett, he had a good week last week, but I would not feel comfortable starting him either. So, honestly, I would get rid of them if you can. But if you can and you want to play one of them in the flex for the upside, you can do that. I just personally would probably find a different option. And Noah Fant, we're sitting. Packers versus the Bucks. Oh, this is rough. Aaron Rodgers, you can start. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, you can definitely start, but temper expectations based off of the matchup. You start them. You're definitely starting Aaron Jones. You can definitely start A.J. Dillon as a flex option if you want. You see me in the other league starting Elijah Moore over A.J. Dillon, and that's purely based off of matchup. But if you want to go ahead and throw A.J. Dillon in there, I don't blame you at all. So you can go ahead and start both the running backs. These wide receivers I would stay away from if you can. I think Allen Lazard is the guy that you would want to start if you do have him. And if you drafted him, odds are you probably feel comfortable starting him. But a touchdown saved his week last week, and I'm not super confident. But any of these other wide receivers, I would go ahead and sit. But if you want to roster Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson, then fine. Robert Tonyan is a fringe tight end that you can start in a pinch. The Bucks. Brady, as much as I've been talking down on him, and I do think you probably have better options here than Tom Brady. You could probably stream a better option here than Tom Brady. But he's still Tom Brady. I think he has some extra stuff going on in his life. He doesn't seem like all the way there. He seems a little disconnected from football right now, and he's, tempers are flaring, and his line is looking bad, and his wide receivers are all injured and suspended. So, when you're going up against the Packers defense and your best receivers are Russell Gage and Rashad Perriman and Cole Beasley, I would be terrified starting Tom Brady. But he's a GOAT. He won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Sit him if you can. Please sit him if you can. Fournette, you're starting. Keep that one easy. If he's starting, you're starting him. I don't think you can start any of these wide receivers. Maybe Russell Gage. Maybe you pick him up and start him because Mike Evans is suspended. Chris Godwin is probably still going to be. He's injured. If he does play, it is going to be limited. Cole Beasley, we haven't seen him with Tom Brady, and he's just getting to Tampa. So I would not try to start him either. So if you wanted to pick someone to start, it's going to be Russell Gage here, unfortunately. If Julio Jones did play, then you could start him. I just don't think he's going to play. All tight ends you're benching. The 49ers versus the Broncos as Sunday Night Football. to start off with the 49ers, you can start Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, would start him over Tom Brady. Jeff Wilson, you can start him. Trying to think of who I would start him over. Let me think about this. Like a Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. That's the example I was trying to think of. I would start Jeff Wilson over both those guys. That gives you a gauge of where he's at. Obviously, you're stashing Elijah Mitchell. If you're trading, ask him to throw Elijah Mitchell in there. You're not gonna have him back for another 5 weeks, so they might just do it just because they don't care. But you'll be thanking yourself later. Deebo Samuel, you're obviously starting. Brandon Ayuk, you can start as a fringe guy in that Elijah Moore conversation. And then George Kittle, if he plays, you start him. If you don't, you're not starting any tight ends here. Broncos have been looking rough. I think they figure it out eventually. So I'm still fine on this offense. Russell Wilson, you can start. Javonte Williams, you can start. Melvin Gordon, you probably shouldn't start. Bench him. Cortland Sutton, you're starting. Jerry Jeudy is probably going to be out again. So Cortland Sutton is going to be a smash play this week. If Jerry Jeudy is out, you can think about starting KJ Hamler, but I would advise against it. Jerry Jeudy, if he does play, you're going to start him. And then Alberto, stream a different tight end. Alberto's not that dude. Cowboys Giants as Monday Night Football. We're not starting quarterbacks here. We're hopefully we're not starting running backs here. You can't start Tony Pollard because of the volatility, and just get anything for Zeke. If you still have Zeke on your team, you need to make a move because Zeke is just bad. He's bad. He's not getting better. When Dak gets back, I don't feel any better about him. He's no different than a tight end where he's touchdown dependent. He has no work in the receiving game. He's not breaking the long plays. He's only good for goal line work. Just get rid of Zeke if you can and try to find someone to start over him. I would even prefer, I'm going to get crucified for saying it, but I would even prefer a Travis Etienne over Zeke Elliott season long. CeeDee Lamb start, and this is going to be another trade target. I have him in 2 of my 3 leagues now. I've been continuing to trade for him as his stock falls. He's going to get better. When Michael Gallup gets back, he'll have some of the heat off of him. When Schultz gets back, he'll have the heat off of him. When Dak Prescott gets back, he'll be looking better. And he's gotten 11 targets in both games. So this is a huge trade target for me. I've been successfully getting him in a lot of my leagues at very cheap. So if you're feeling risky and you're feeling up on CD, then go grab him. Noah Brown, you can scoop off waivers. I think that there was a connection because Cooper Rush and Noah Brown play on the same team in practice, so they have that connection. But Noah Brown's on the second team for a reason. CeeDee Lamb is absolutely better than him. Michael Gallup is absolutely better than him. So you can take a chance on him if you want, but I would be moving away. Continue to stash Michael Gallup, and then Dalton Schultz, obviously stash him until he gets healthy. New York Giants, Daniel Jones, you can stream because of the rushing upside here. Saquon Barkley, you're obviously smash playing. He's one of the better running backs in the league, at least at this point in the season. So it looks like Saquon is fully back. Start him. Sterling Shepard is going to be the only wide receiver you can start in this group. Definitely pick him up from your waiver wires based off of the volume he's been seeing and the rapport that he does have with Daniel Jones. We've seen it in the past couple seasons that they've been together and been healthy together. So Sterling Shepard is the guy you want to roster here. Wan'Dale Robinson might be worth the stash as he's coming back from his injury. But Kadarius Toney is a guy that you really got to be nervous about. I probably wouldn't have the balls to drop him just yet, but he's right there. Toney is a huge disappointment. I was actually really high on him. I don't know what the coaching staff is doing, not using him, but you definitely can't start him. And then all tight ends you are benching. So that wraps it up for the start, sit / trade talk video for week 3. Let me know how you guys feel about the timing and the style and length of this video. It looks like we're going to be right around an hour long. So let me know how you feel about the amount of depth that we went into this video versus last video. And then go ahead and give it a like if you guys do like the video. I've really been appreciating the support. We're transitioning over into the actual season portion. This is the first year of this channel, so we're learning as we go. We're improving as we go. But for the most part, we're just doing this to have a little bit of fun and to talk fantasy football. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live every Sunday before the football games and release these start sit trade talk videos either Tuesday or Wednesday for the entirety of the 2022 NFL season. So other than that, we have football tomorrow. So we almost made it through the 2-day lull period. We have to wait between Monday and Thursday. It's the worst 2 days of the week. But look out for football tomorrow. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns. And I will see you guys on Sunday. Peace out.